Hi there, and welcome to Astrology with Arin. I'm so glad you're joining me for our November 2025 forecast, a month that brings emotional depth, steady growth, and the chance to integrate all that's been transforming since eclipse season. Before we dive in, I'd like to invite you to visit my website, astrologywitharin.com. There you'll find my lunar blog with horoscopes for every rising sign. And if you want to connect day to day, follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Astrology with Arin. Now let's look at what the sky is offering us this month. First up, let's talk about the ongoing Jupiter and Saturn story. The steady and near perfect trine between Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn in Pisces creates a background current all month long. We will also see Venus and Mercury completing grand water trines from Scorpio, further highlighting this watery energy. The combination of Jupiter and Saturn is faith meeting structure, growth meeting discipline. It rewards patience, consistency, and heartfelt effort. You might notice progress in long-term creative work, healing practices, or relationships where emotional boundaries are finally clear. This is gentle momentum, the kind that comes from building something that can last. We'll cover Venus's movements next. Venus begins the month in her airy domicile of Libra, graceful and balanced. On November 2nd, she squares Jupiter in Cancer, filling the heart with generosity and a desire for connection. It's a lovely aspect, but can bring overindulgence. Watch for saying yes to too much of a good thing. Then on November 6th, Venus leaves Libra for Scorpio, her sign of detriment. The tone deepens. Love becomes investigative and passionate. We crave truth and emotional authenticity. This transit asks for vulnerability, the willingness to look beneath the surface. By November 7th, Venus squares Pluto, intensifying emotions and illuminating power dynamics. What's hidden in relationships can rise to the surface. This is a call to honesty and vulnerability, not control. Toward the end of the month, Venus finds her grace once again. On November 26th, she forms trines to both Jupiter and Saturn, offering healing, forgiveness, and reconnection after earlier tension. Then between November 29th and 30th, she opposes Uranus, trines Neptune, and finally enters Sagittarius. What began as emotional excavation ends as release. Love and creativity feel freer, lighter, and more hopeful. Now Mars starts the month strong in his watery domicile of Scorpio and trines Neptune on November 3rd. This is the energy of spiritual drive, acting on intuition, compassion, or a creative vision. But on November 4th, Mars enters Sagittarius and immediately opposes Uranus. This is bold, restless, and volatile energy, like a lightning strike or wildfire. Expect spontaneity and truth bombs, but remember, the goal is liberation, not chaos. Move with purpose, not reaction. By November 6th, Mars sextiles Pluto, transforming impulse into willpower. This is productive courage, the kind that helps you act with integrity and precision. And right after, on November 7th, Uranus retrogrades from Gemini back into Taurus, marking a collective shift from mental stimulation back to tangible grounding. Ideas now need roots. This return reminds us that innovation only matters if it's practically useful. If the past few months felt like brainstorming the future, this change asks what can actually be built. Now let's touch on the first lunation of the month. The full moon at 13 degrees of Taurus on November 5th is ruled by Venus in Libra, making it the second consecutive lunation guided by Our Lady of Love and Beauty. It's fertile, stabilizing, and sensual, a time to celebrate growth and embodiment. The moon's next aspects are sextiles to Jupiter and Saturn, translating light between two planets of wisdom and form. That translation brings fecundity and tangible results. What you've been nurturing since the eclipses may now bear fruit. This full moon encourages grounding, gratitude, and appreciation for what's thriving. Let's move on to the celestial messenger. Mercury stations retrograde on November 9th at 6 degrees of Sagittarius, beginning a reflective cycle that challenges assumptions and broad beliefs. In Sagittarius, Mercury is in his detriment and prefers big ideas to details. But during this retrograde, it's those details that reveal the truth. By November 12th, Mercury retrograde conjoins Mars, igniting strong opinions or passionate conversations. Pause before reacting. Truth doesn't need force. On November 18th, Mercury retrogrades into Scorpio, inviting deeper reflection and emotional honesty. Then on November 19th, he opposes Uranus at 29 degrees of Taurus, an aspect that delivers revelations, breakthroughs, and unexpected insight. Stay open, grounded, and ready to rethink what you thought you knew. By November 22nd, Mercury forms trines to Jupiter and Saturn, helping integrate lessons learned along the way. Because of his retrograde cycle, this is the second time Mercury has completed the grand water trine between Jupiter and Saturn, with the first being in late October. Watch for a recurring theme or a continued storyline. Finally, clarity returns through depth when Mercury stations direct on November 29th, closing the loop with a sense of emotional and mental coherence. Next up, some big outer planet news. On November 20th, Uranus retrograde at 29 degrees of Taurus sextiles Neptune retrograde at 29 degrees of Pisces, forming the second of 5 exact alignments between these two outer planets. The first took place in August of 2025, and the final one will occur in June of 2027. This November contact is the only one that happens with Uranus still in Taurus and Neptune still in Pisces, both at the very end of their signs. This alignment carries a quiet, visionary charge. It blends the practical genius of Uranus in Taurus with the spiritual imagination of Neptune in Pisces. It's the meeting of invention and inspiration, dreams finding form. We're closing one chapter of collective imagination before the next begins in Gemini and Aries. Think of this as the last ripple of a long tide of healing and creativity that began in 2018. Constructively, this transit supports grounding spiritual or artistic vision into tangible reality. Don't just dream, build the dream. Also on November 20th is our second lunation of the month. The new moon at 28 degrees of Scorpio deepens this theme of revelation and rebirth. The new moon is conjunct retrograde Mercury at his cazimi, opposite Uranus, and completes a grand water trine with Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. These aspects highlight and encourage emotional stability and spiritual alignment. This is one of the most alchemical lunations of the year, a purgative moment when deep truths come to light. Mercury's cazimi in the heart of the sun illuminates hidden motives and clarifies emotional complexities. Set intentions for renewal through honesty. This new moon is ideal for cord cutting, or release rituals, emotional detox, and reclaiming personal power. Right after the new moon on November 21st, the sun opposes Uranus, trines Neptune, and then moves into Sagittarius, all within hours. Happy birthday season to all the Sagittarians. This sequence feels like a storm breaking and sunlight returning. Revelation, release, and then expansion. Scorpio season's deep work gives way to Sagittarius's forward momentum. Vision replaces intensity. By November 23rd, the sun sextiles Pluto, transmuting inspiration into empowered action. The final week of November carries a wave of clarity and closure. Saturn stations direct in Pisces on November 27th, helping solidify the lessons learned about boundaries, responsibility, and compassion. Mercury stations direct just 2 days later, clearing communication pathways and restoring perspective. As the month ends, Venus opposes Uranus and trines Neptune, then enters Sagittarius. What once felt heavy now feels lighter. We're freer to connect, express, and imagine. Before we close, let's look at how November's astrology lands for each of the 12 rising signs. These horoscopes are written from the perspective of your rising sign, but you can also listen for your sun or moon sign, especially if those placements are strong or you feel connected to them. Take what resonates and notice how the themes echo through different parts of your life. Let's get started with Aries. Your theme, deep transformation. This month invites emotional renewal and reflection on shared resources, intimacy, and trust. The Taurus Full Moon highlights stability in your finances or sense of self-worth, while the Scorpio New Moon opens a deeper layer of vulnerability and release. Mercury Retrograde draws you inward to re-examine your beliefs and long-term goals before clarity returns at month's end. With Mars moving through your 9th house, you may feel restless for meaning or truth, but answers come through experience, not escape. You might ask yourself, how do trust and truth coexist in your closest bonds? And for Taurus rising, your theme, relationship evolution. November centers on your partnerships and what balance, honesty, and freedom really mean within them. The full moon in your sign marks an emotional culmination around identity and self-expression. Meanwhile, Venus, your ruler, travels through your opposite sign of Scorpio, calling for depth, transparency, and emotional courage. This is a powerful time to clear what feels stagnant and recommit to connections that can evolve with you. What does authentic partnership require of you now? And for Gemini rising, your theme is healing routines. Your ruler, Mercury, retrogrades through Sagittarius and Scorpio, prompting you to revise agreements, work habits, or your approach to wellness. The Taurus full moon highlights rest and integration, reminding you that not all progress is visible. The Scorpio new moon brings powerful renewal in your daily rhythms and routines. Uranus's return to your 12th house asks for more spiritual space, time away to rest and reflect. What might change if you made rest a ritual rather than a reward? And for Cancer rising, your theme of the month is creative and emotional fertility. Jupiter in your sign continues to offer blessings and emotional expansion, especially as he trines Saturn in Pisces. The Taurus full moon illuminates the fruits of creative work or joyful self-expression. Venus's movement into Scorpio turns attention toward pleasure, art, or romance that feels truly alive. By the Scorpio New Moon, you're invited to create from a place of passion and authenticity rather than from obligation. Where are you ready to express more joy without self-censorship? And for Leo rising, your theme of the month is home, roots, and renewal. November invites deep work around home, family, and emotional foundations. The Taurus full moon at the top of your chart highlights professional visibility or recognition, while the Scorpio new moon pulls you inward toward healing and belonging. Mercury retrograde may connect you with old memories or family conversations that need closure. Trust the process and take time to rest before new inspiration comes in with Sagittarius season. What does security truly mean to you, and how do you nurture it? And for Virgo rising, your theme of the month is rewriting the story. With Mercury, your ruling planet, retrograde through your third and fourth houses, the focus is on communication, mindset, and emotional truth. Old narratives resurface, asking to be revised. The Taurus full moon opens perspective and expansion, while the Scorpio new moon invites honest conversation and vulnerability. By the time Mercury stations direct, your voice carries new clarity and power. Which stories about yourself are ready to be rewritten? And for Libra rising, your theme of the month, values and vulnerability. Venus, your ruler, begins in Libra and then dives into Scorpio, marking a shift from grace to depth. The Taurus full moon emphasizes shared resources, while the Scorpio new moon draws attention to your personal values and self-worth. This month may reveal what balance between giving and receiving really looks like. Let financial or emotional exchanges mirror your inner balance. Where are you being called to invest more energy in yourself? And for Scorpio rising, your theme for the month, rebirth and revelation. Well, the spotlight is on you. The Taurus full moon lights up your relationships, showing you how much you've grown. The new moon in your sign brings rebirth, renewal, and an emotional reset, a moment to release what no longer fits your truth. With Mercury retrograde in your sign, communication feels introspective. Clarity returns late in the month. What new version of yourself are you ready to reveal to the world? And for Sagittarius rising, your theme for the month, inner integration. Mars in your sign brings energy and drive, but Mercury's retrograde motion through Sagittarius and Scorpio slows the pace, encouraging reflection before action. The Taurus full moon spotlights your wellness and work habits, while the Scorpio new moon asks for rest, retreat, and spiritual renewal. Growth now depends on balancing movement with mindfulness. Where does silence reveal more than striving? And for Capricorn rising, your theme for the month is vision and community. The Jupiter-Saturn trine activates your sectors of connection and communication, encouraging you to share wisdom within your circles. The Taurus full moon highlights creative expression or a project nearing completion. The Scorpio new moon energizes community involvement and collective purpose. Mercury retrograde brings connection with friends or collaborators from the past. What networks or communities feel aligned with your future self? And for Aquarius rising, your theme for the month is purpose and reinvention. With Pluto freshly in your sign and Uranus returning to Taurus, this month reawakens themes of home, identity, and legacy. The Taurus full moon centers domestic life, while the Scorpio new moon amplifies professional visibility and purpose. Mercury retrograde asks you to clarify your goals and public role before moving ahead. How are you redefining success to align with who you're becoming? And finally, for Pisces rising, your theme for the month, faith in motion. Saturn and Neptune both move through your sign, deepening your sense of calling and sensitivity to timing. The Taurus full moon brings insights through learning, travel, or conversation, while the Scorpio new moon plants a seed for new spiritual study or a deeper understanding of the world. Mercury retrograde highlights perspective, how belief shapes experience. By month's end, Saturn stations direct in your sign, grounding the lessons learned this year. What new understanding of faith or meaning is taking shape within you? As November draws to a close, the sky invites stillness, space to absorb what's shifted before we begin again. This has been a month of revelation and renewal, a turning point between inner transformation and outward movement. Notice what feels more certain now, what you've released, and what wants to grow in the space you've cleared. This month begins in depth and ends in vision. We emerge from Scorpio's waters, ready to travel lighter into Sagittarius season. Well, that's all for this episode. Thank you for joining me for the November forecast. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe, and join me for the next month's episode on the December forecast. If you'd like to explore how these transits touch your own chart, you can book a one-on-one consultation with me or read my lunar blog and horoscopes at astrologywitharin.com. Until next time, take good care, and may you trust in the divine timing of your life.